Welcome back to the channel, guys, and what I'm going to be doing today is a kit loadout for the gear that I used on the SERE Challenge 5 in California. So I'm out in California at the moment, and the reason why I'm sat inside this barn is because it's actually raining outside and really misty, so the visuals wouldn't be very good. So we just finished the SERE Challenge 5 event run by Randall, and we had to cut it short. I'll go into that more when I actually make my video about the event. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cover the gear that I used for that event. As you can see, I'm in Tiger Stripe gear, and that's because the theme for this event was actually a Vietnam style theme, and the uniform for the Op4 for us guys was Tiger Stripe. So what I'm going to do then is I'll go through all the gear I used, starting from my clothing, then to my belt kit, then to my rucksack, and go through everything I used, what I used it for, how well it worked, and anything I'd changed to my loadout for this event. Starting with the clothing then, so all the clothing that I used was from Platatac. So I've got the Platatac jungle hat, the Platatac Kurt shirt, and the Platatac Willard trousers, and all this kit is absolutely awesome. Really comfortable, really functional, the pockets are really good. It dries relatively quickly as well, and it's pretty hard wearing. So going into the contents of my shirt then, top right pocket, what I've got in here is my admin line, which contains a lighter, a whistle, and a torch, little navigational torch. It's just got like a little pinprick of light on it there, so it's not too bright. That's secured to my pocket, and they do have tie-off points in the pockets of these shirts, so that's ideal. Coming across from there then, I've got my silver compass in a compass pocket on the front, which I was using quite a bit, so that was really handy to have that real quick access to it. And then on my left hand pocket, I had some cam cream and my spoon. And that was the contents of my shirt pockets there. I didn't actually use the upper sleeve pockets at all for any contents, but they're always handy if you're wearing body armour and stuff like that. So in the right hand pocket of my trousers, I've got my notebook and pens, with obviously a waterproof notebook, and that's a Modestone waterproof notebook in there. And then in my left hand pocket then, I had my map of the area. Okay, so that was waterproofed. Normally I'd carry if it was a standard map like an OS map, that would be in a waterproof case. But because of the way that we was operating under the constraints of the event, we was issued the maps as they were. As you can see there, that was a Fablon map. Okay, boots then. So the boots I used for the event are these lower Gore-Tex boots, leather boots. I've had these for quite a long time, probably about 15 years, but they fared really well because we encountered some really wet conditions, and these were exactly the sort of things that I needed for the event. Moving on to the belt kit then, I used the Crossfire DZ rig, which is an absolutely awesome set of belt kit, super comfortable, and great layout, mega pouches. So going from left to right then, 2 ammo pouches there, yep, ammunition went in there. You can see I've got a headset for a radio here then, so we used Baofeng radios, and I've got my radio in this little pouch here. This is one of the smaller pouches from Crossfire. So that's what our comms were, and actually worked really well. Next pouch along from there then, got a water bottle. So normally I carry 2 British Army 58 pattern water bottles, but due to constraints of weight and space getting over from the UK, I carried this in my carry-on luggage and just used that as one of my water bottles in my belt kit. In the centre pouch here then, in the kind of sustainment pouch here, what I've got at the very top is an IFAK. So that's got all the normal stuff you put in an IFAK, with an Israeli trauma bandage, a tourniquet, pair of scissors, a hemostatic dressing, a Sharpie pen for marking on the forehead if you applied the tourniquet. All that sort of stuff's in there. Then next I've got some AAA and AA batteries in a waterproof container there, waterproof bag. I've got 2 Siloons, a red and a blue Siloon. Then I've got the obvious bottle of Tabasco, always handy when you're out eating rations, as we were. Then talking of rations, I've got pretty much 24 hours worth of rations there. So I've got 2 main meals and some snacks, and there were some more snacks in that bag, but obviously I've eaten them. Always good to keep stuff like that in your webbing for sustainment. And we were operating for, most of the day away from our rucksacks, both days. Then I've got, this is like a Lumi vest type thing. That's for safety. That was just an event thing that was I was asked to carry. I've got a thermal blanket there, just in case of, emergencies, that sort of thing. And an air marker panel. So this is one I've had for donkey's years, as you can probably see. Orange on one side, green on the other. Coming around from there then, I've got a normal 58 British Army issue water bottle and a metal mug. Now normally I'd also carry an issue cooker in here, the British Army issue cookers, because they're nice and compact. But again, because of the constraints of travelling over from the UK, I couldn't actually carry one of those, and they didn't have anything like that available here, so I didn't have anything in there to actually to do that. Coming round from there then, I've got a fixed blade knife, nice little survival knife there, handy for lots of stuff. And then in this front right hand pouch then, I've got a set of binoculars for observing targets and stuff. A multi-tool, Leatherman, and a pacer. And that's everything in that pouch there. Attached to the front of that, you can probably see I've got a set of gloves on the front. So obviously for camouflage and for protection as well. So that's everything in my belt kit there. Right then, so the rucksack. Now this is a CF2 from Crossfire. Absolutely awesome pack. Easily capable of taking up to 4 days or so, as long as you pack smartly, especially with the addition of these pouches. And this is a day sack lid from Crossfire as well. This is an absolutely awesome piece of kit, because what it allows you to do is just unclip it there and there, there and there, and then you've got a day sack that you can patrol with. You can see on the back of the lid there, the day sack lid pack, I've got my helmet, so that's scrimmed up as well. So that's an Ops Core helmet, and that's used for sticking the MVGs on the front. And I did have these, but I've not got them here because they was borrowed from someone that was on the event, and they've gone now. Going into the day pack then, you've got a zip top here, well, a little external zip pouch here with a head torch. And you can see there I've got the red lens on there, ready to go just in case I need to use it in a bit more of a low-key environment. Opening up the top pouch, what I've got is my eye pro, so eye protection that we've needed because we was using airsoft rifles on this event because it was force on force. And I was wearing the glasses, but the case for it's here along with the other coloured lenses. A woolly hat, so the temperature did drop whilst we was out, and it actually got really quite cold. Even though we're in California, we're in the mountains, it's November, and actually it got really cold. So having that as an option to stick on my head when it got cold was really decent. Then I've got a couple of main meals out of MREs, and again, this bolstered the food that I had in my webbing. So, probably go for 2 days at a very push with the food that I'm carrying there. Then I've got a small diddy pouch here with bits and pieces like loads of cordage. I've got means of starting a fire, so tinder. I've got a ferro rod. I've got a few plastic cuffs. I've got cordage, bungees, that sort of stuff in there. So that's all my small bits and pieces. And then in a separate pouch, this is a waterproof pouch for things like toilet paper, more batteries, and a spare lighter as well. Okay, in this little zip pouch I've got a spoon, so basically a backup spoon, apart from the one I'm carrying in my shirt. And then bottom pouch. So what I've got here is a dry bag, and in the dry bag then I've got a waterproof layer. So this is a new item that I got recently from Crossfire, and this is basically a smock. So a jacket that's basically, it's a soft touch, but it's actually waterproof as well. And I actually used this quite a bit because it hammered down with rain during the event, and this came in super handy to have this on me. So a bit of a lifesaver really. So I wasn't carrying a traditional hard shell, I was just carrying this jacket here for use as both a smock and a waterproof layer. So that was, you know, really handy and well used. Obviously carried in a waterproof container, or waterproof bag should I say, so that it didn't just get wet whilst it sat on my back. And then last thing in here then is a brew flask, so that, you know, if I made a cup of tea or coffee, then I could carry it with me and it will still be hot a couple of hours down the line. And yes, I did use this quite a bit as well. So that's just the day pack lid. Side pouches then. So again, these are pouches from Crossfire, and I believe that these are called full loaves. In this side here then, the main thing I've got is my basher. So I've got, again, tiger stripe, kind of went full retard, with all the cords attached with, you know, jungle knots and all the pegs there as well. So a decent sized basher as well. And that, I mean, I think that was a 3x3 basher. That is made by Mac Tightwad, great bit of kit. In here then I've got my hygiene kit, so toothbrush, toothpaste, things like that, and some wets. So the hygiene kit there, you can see that's fairly compact. I don't really go too all out on that sort of thing. I don't think you really need it in the field, personally. So that's everything in that pouch there. In this pouch here then, this is mainly rations. So I've got my pocket rocket with gas, and even though this is only a small one, this is still, you know, I can still fill that, so about half full. And that was after a few days in the field, because I'm not cooking all the time, probably cooking once a day, maybe twice at the most. A bag with loads of snacks in and stuff out the MREs. And then this isn't one MRE, this is two that are stripped down. So, and a couple of extra main meals as well. So probably, yeah, 2 days worth of food in there alongside the other stuff. I've got about 4 days worth of food on me there. And also a mountain house dried pack as well. So freeze dry ration there as well, and these are really hefty as well. I had one of these at the start of each day, and that lasted me for most of the day each day, to be fair. And then a decent brew kit, so I've got a load of 3-in-1 coffees there, and some other bits and pieces from the MREs. So that's just the side pouches, there's all that stuff there, and that's that covered. Going into the main compartment then, first thing is a big water bladder. So I've got 3 litres of water there. So in conjunction with the stuff in water bottles in my belt kit, there's nearly 5 litres worth there. And then a dry bag. Obviously you've got to keep your kit nice and dry, and it hammered down with rain for 2 days pretty much solid. And this did a great job of keeping my kit nice and dry. And some of the other people on the event did not look after their kit properly for bad weather, and this is the sort of thing you need to do. So another dry bag inside this, and this adds extra, you know, protection to your kit, but it's mainly for keeping your kit organised. And this is one of those dry bags from TRC Outdoors. Nice bit of kit, and what I've got is 3 pairs of socks. So it was out for 4 days, so 1 spare set for every other day apart from day 1. Foot powder. The reason why that's in a plastic bag is to stop the powder going amongst everything else in my bag. And a nice fleece jumper, and this is a Platatac one. Again, really nice and thick and did the job well. And I specifically took a fleece rather than a synthetic, say, jacket or down jacket, because it was forecast to be wet. and fleece works really well in wet conditions as opposed to things like say down. Okay, I took a hammock just in case we had the chance to hammock up and get off the ground, but that wasn't an option. It just didn't happen to be whilst we was out there, so that wasn't actually used. So, you know, if I was to do this again, I wouldn't take that. Inflatable mat. So obviously I used this to get myself off the ground, give myself a little bit of insulation. That was great, and you can see how compact that is. That's one of the Climate Static V short ones, which is, I personally think that's the best one for the job for this kind of thing. And then lastly, I've got a sleeping bag, and this was quite a lightweight sleeping bag in here with the bivvy bag. This is a US Marine Corps bivvy bag, and inside here I've got a Snug Pack Elite 1 sleeping bag, which is a fairly lightweight sleeping bag, this thing. But it did a great job. I wasn't cold whatsoever. I wore my fleece inside as well. The temperatures did drop at night quite considerably because, like I say, we're out in the mountains and the weather was in. But with what I had here, with the fleece on, underneath a basher, absolutely fine. So that done a great job. And that is all the kit there. Okay then guys, so that's everything I used during the SERE Challenge 5 out here in California. The actual event will be shown on the SERE Challenge channel, which I'll put a link to up there. Anyway, for this kit then, it served me very well. The weather that we actually encountered was not what you expect when you come to California. It absolutely hammered down with rain for a couple of days, all day, all night, and then into the following day. And that sort of thing, you know, when you're sat there at home watching it, yeah, it sounds easy and it's only rain, but actually it was pretty damn cold and it was frickin' hard work operating in those sort of conditions. I won't give too much away, but it did have quite an effect on the event as well. But watch the actual series for that and you'll get to see what happened. So this kit that I packed actually worked really well for me, and one of the main reasons why it worked well for me is because I've invested into it. It's decent equipment. It's not like crappy stuff. But also the fact is I've got the experience, you know, over years and years of soldiering to know what works in harsh environments, in the cold and the wet, and what kit to carry, when to carry it. When we were out on this event here, there were some of the people on the militia side, I'd say most of them actually, that weren't carrying the right sort of kit when they're on patrol. So we were away from our rucksacks for long periods of time, all day basically. And when you're out in cold, wet conditions, you need stuff to keep you sustained. And having something like the DZ rig there that you can carry 5 hours worth of rations, water, emergency bits and pieces, and a patrol pack as well. You definitely need something like that for carrying things like waterproofs, maybe a basher. You could have carried a basher in there. Cooking items, that sort of thing, food. You need that stuff when you're away from your gear, especially in cold, wet conditions. You can't just go out wearing a belt with a flipping 2 magazines on it, a utility pouch and an IFAK, which is, some of the guys were doing that and I think they suffered quite badly. And also prepping your rucksack, making sure everything's 100% waterproofed. Because if you just put a sleeping bag inside a rucksack with no waterproof liner, in those sort of conditions, if it's not undercover, it's going to get wet. And actually, that's what happened to a lot of the guys on the event. So, proof's in the pudding. Make sure you prep your kit properly and practice with it. You know, it just went to show that I think a lot of people that were out here hadn't actually been out and used their kit properly in testing environments. And without sounding big-headed, I've done a lot of this sort of stuff, and actually what I brought with me served me really well. So proof's in the pudding, like I say. Anyway, anyone watching this out there, any differences in the kit that you would have taken for an event like this? It was a 4-day event, so you know, you got to think about your sustainment, food, water, spare clothing, socks, that sort of thing. Is there anything different you would have carried, anything you wouldn't have taken that I brought, or anything extra that you would have taken? Remember, it's always a balance between comfort and the weight that you've got to carry, because this stuff wasn't brought forward in vehicles. We were carrying it on our backs. We was dismounted. So let me know what you say in the comments, any differences in the kit that you might use on a dismounted operation for a few days, for 4 days out there. Again, thanks a lot for everyone that's supporting the channel, that are members. I really appreciate it. And as always, stay prepared. And a big shout out to all the members that are supporting my channel. Much appreciated. Thanks, guys.